Here's how you can create your own dual rail power supply. I was recently working on an audio synthesizer project, and for projects like that, you usually need a dual rail supply, which means we have a ground, which is our reference, we have a positive rail, which is held at a higher potential than our ground, and a negative rail, which is held at a lower potential. Now in my setup, I use two batteries, which means I have two DC sources, but that's not usually the case. You usually have a single DC source and you have to use a voltage divider like this one. Now these two resistors should have the same value, so the voltage between the ground and positive rail is exactly the negative of ground and negative rail. So voltage between these two and these 2 points should be the same. This is not enough because once we start adding a load and drawing some current, the voltage of our ground is going to change. It is not held constant. That's why we need to add a voltage buffer, an op-amp voltage buffer, which basically has a very high input impedance and very low output impedance. So our ground can be kept at a constant voltage. But even that is not enough because an op-amp cannot usually provide a lot of current. For example, this TL072 I'm using here can only provide around 2 to 3 milliamps. That's why we need this complementary push-pull emitter using a pair of NPN and PNP transistors so we can draw more current than a few milliamps. And also, after all of that, like most power supply, we also have two electrolytic capacitors, as you can see here. So we can remove the power supply repo and end up with a very clean DC voltage. Now I want to kind of show you how it works in practice. Now let me connect these two batteries here and okay. Let me turn on my voltmeter. And as you can see, now here is our negative rail, here is our ground, and here is our positive rail. So let's try the measuring the potential between positive and negative, ground and negative rail. As you can see, now I connected the ground probe to our negative rail, so it's going to show a positive voltage. It's around 8 or 9 volts. Now the batteries are a little bit old and you could blame it on that. It's a little bit lower. And here, if I measure the potential between our negative and positive rail, it should be 18 volts since I'm using two 9-volt batteries. But as I said, these are a little bit old, so it's lower. But yeah, this is basically how this setup can work. Now, going through everything, I have here our battery connected. This is my op-amp voltage buffer. This is my complementary push-pull emitter follower. And these are the two electrolytic capacitors. Yeah. Thanks for watching. See you next time.